It's the International Soccer Preview. We are Soccerphiles Canada. Welcome to Series 30, looking at the groups and teams of the 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup. This episode is looking at Group B, USA, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, and Saudi Arabia. Here we go! But we are ready to move on to part 3 here, and we'll begin with the pots and rankings.
Yeah, so the USA is actually the out of the four pot one team, they're the lowest ranked by CONCACAF's calculation. Haiti is also the lowest ranked of the pot 2 teams. Trinidad is second out of the pot 3 teams. And then Saudi Arabia is an anomaly. They're automatically placed in pot 4, but they would have a much higher FIFA ranking than Curacao and Dominican Republic, even than Suriname, who are a pot 3 team. So the invited guest thing and not including their kind of ranking in the calculation does create a bit of an anomaly among pot 4 teams. And on the face of it, you'd think being drawn with Saudi Arabia would be the toughest of the pot 4 teams.
Yeah, definitely. So, USA and Haiti from the bottom of their pots does make this look like the weakest team. But as you say, Saudi Arabia quite a bit stronger than any of the other pot 4 teams. I think Haiti is a bit unlucky to be drawn with the invited guests for 2 tournaments in a row.
Yeah, definitely. It does make it tougher. You'd probably rather Guadeloupe than Saudi Arabia, for sure. And it really, they're not a pot 4 team. It's an interesting way of doing it. You can kind of see why they do it, but it does kind of automatically be a disadvantage for whichever teams are drawn against.
Exactly. Yeah. Having said that, Haiti did beat Qatar in the last cup, but then Qatar took the advancing spot. So not a joy to be drawn against the invited guests. Let's take a look at the rankings. In my mind, I'm trying to kind of fit in Saudi Arabia into CONCACAF and see kind of where they land in CONCACAF. This will help us.
Yeah, so the USA is 16th in FIFA rankings and 34th in ELO, so quite a discrepancy there. Haiti is 86th in FIFA and 75th in ELO. So quite a discrepancy actually between the pot 1 and 2 teams. Trinidad and Tobago was just under 100th in both systems, 102nd and 109th. And then Saudi Arabia is 59th in FIFA ranking, so that puts them several spots above Haiti, though their ELO ranking has them 75th, so actually the same with Haiti, but both quite far behind the United States.
Right, so that's pretty interesting that they're at the exact same level as Haiti. Is your impression matching that?
It's not. I think the FIFA rankings I would defer to here. I think Saudi Arabia get to test themselves against kind of tougher opponents more so than Haiti. So no, I would probably say Saudi Arabia, who are a good team in Asia, I would consider them stronger, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question, though, is a big discrepancy between FIFA having USA as the top team in CONCACAF right now. CONCACAF themselves and ELO have USA as 4th behind Mexico, Canada, and Panama. Where do you land on that?
Well, they finished 4th behind those other 3 teams you mentioned in the most recent Nations League. So I guess that is some evidence of it. I don't think the USA are at a period of historical strength right now. Perhaps Mexico aren't either, whereas Canada and Panama are. So I think it's kind of interesting. I think we were used to thinking of CONCACAF as an undisputed first and second, being USA and Mexico in some order. So I think the interesting thing is whether they're 1st or 4th. The fact is there's more competitive teams at the top end of CONCACAF than we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, that's not so much an issue until the final rounds when they start meeting those teams. but we'll get into that. I am jumping ahead of myself a bit because we're supposed to just objectively analyze the teams here before the discussion. Let's take a look at the head-to-head record, beginning with USA versus Haiti.
Yes, USA has a better record. 5 wins, 1 draw, but 2 defeats to Haiti, though those 2 defeats were a while ago.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit lost in my thing. Yes, those 2 defeats coming way back in the 1970 World Cup qualifications. So hitting Haiti at their strong point and USA at their weak point. Otherwise, USA quite dominant in this head-to-head. USA and I'm going to ask you before we move on, how many times do you think USA have met Trinidad and Tobago?
Maybe a few more than Haiti. I know Trinidad have been in some more final rounds of qualification.
All right, I won't torment you further, but I'm shocked by the number of times they've met here.
Yeah, my goodness, 25. USA has won 19. That's left 3 draws for Trinidad and Tobago and also 3 victories.
Right, but actually one of Trinidad and Tobago's wins there was in the 2023-24 CONCACAF Nations League quarterfinal, as we saw. America had won the first game by a wide margin, so maybe relaxed a little bit too much there in Trinidad and Tobago. But, the most famous meeting between them.
Yeah, the 2018 World Cup qualifying.
Yeah, and I said I think America has thrashed them twice since. That's true. In the group stage of the 2019 Copa America and in the 2023 Gold Cup, they beat them 6 times, punishing them for that 2018 World Cup. Okay, let's move on. These teams haven't met Saudi Arabia that much, but surprisingly, the US and Saudi Arabia have met in competition.
Yeah, it was a victory for the United States. Do you want to tell us about that?
That was a 1999 Confederations Cup. That might have been a little bit before the Confederations Cup was really known as an international tournament. You'd be surprised how many of these cups actually come out of Saudi Arabia or the Middle East. The Arab Cup, now becoming kind of a FIFA competition, came out of the Middle East, and so did the Confederations Cup. But given that they met USA in this one, it might have been actually at the time the Confederations Cup became a competition. But we got to remember USA really just at the beginning of their ascendancy in terms of the world here, and they won that 2-0 over Saudi Arabia. An interesting point in history for those two to be meeting. Haiti and Saudi Arabia, do you think they have met?
I don't think they have.
Right, they have not met. I can't imagine a circumstance where they would meet. We move on, though, to Trinidad and Tobago versus Haiti, both of those Caribbean teams. So, of course, they've met quite a bit.
And it's very even. There's 3 draws, but aside from that, it's Trinidad and Tobago with 9 wins and Haiti with 8.
That's right. And 2 of those meetings were in Caribbean Cup finals. Trinidad Tobago won in 2001, and Haiti beat Trinidad and Tobago in their only Caribbean Cup win in 2007. So a lot of history inside the region. And finally, Trinidad and Tobago versus Saudi Arabia.
No history.
No history. I guess the 2006 World Cup would have been the only possibility there. All right. Well, we do like to look at the odds, not because we're gamblers, but because we like to know what the odds makers are thinking. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find odds for this tournament. And so do you have any speculations on who you think, on what the odds would be?
Well, I think the USA, I mean, they kind of win every other time. They're actually, if you follow the historical pattern of the USA winning and not, they're due for a win. So their odds would be high. I don't know the others would be tremendously high, but maybe an outside chance for Haiti or Saudi Arabia, but pretty outside, I would think.
Okay, well, let's go back then to our FIFA odds and maybe start with those. You seem pretty positive about the USA. Not that I have anything against the USA soccer team, but I'm a bit cynical about their chances here. First of all, because I completely disagree with FIFA. I think they're nowhere near first in the region right now. I think fourth is pretty accurate. So that would put them in the semifinals at best. But I just did the players podcast for the USA, and oh my goodness, Connor, so many injured players, so many of their 18 players going to be probably at the Club World Cup. I said in that media cast that I think the Club World Cup takes precedence over the Gold Cup. Do you know?
I think for a lot of players, I mean, ultimately they're under contract to their clubs and they go and play international. So if they're under contract, and there are a number of American teams competing,
Yeah.
yeah, it puts them in a difficult spot. As a country, USA can call upon a whole host of players, but clubs are limited by who's on their squad. So I imagine that we'll see some of those players playing in the Club World Cup and not the Gold Cup.
Yeah, well, I moaned in that media cast about it being quite self-contradictory of FIFA to be promoting kind of a club tournament over an international tournament. Usually they're fighting with clubs to force them to release players to international tournaments. I don't want to go too far into that, but what do you make of the Club World Cup?
Well, it's odd, and the USA is actually going to be hosting both tournaments simultaneously. It's a very bizarre position that they find themselves in. To try and be promoting the Gold Cup, which they've hosted for many years, but also have this other kind of big, glitzy, high-profile tournament. It's just a very odd thing. And when I first found out that they were kind of going on at the same time, I couldn't really believe it. But
Yeah.
There you go.
But getting back to the matter at hand, I think the USA is paying a much heavier price than other teams. As you said, I think three of their teams involved. Seattle, Inter Miami is hosting. And between when I did the USA podcast and now, LAFC has beaten the Mexican team. So they're going to be there too. But of course, it's a lot of the European teams that their top players play for, and they're just losing a hatful of players to that. On top of these so many injuries, you should listen to the short version of that because it's just stunning. I would say 4 or 5 injuries just in the last couple of weeks alone. I almost began to wonder if the players just don't want to go to the Cup.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, the outcome of it is that the USA will not be sending anything close to their A team. They'll be struggling to find players for their B team. So I think in this discussion, we should be talking about USA not in their traditional form. In fact, they sent a B team in 2021 and in 2023. So it's becoming a bit of a tradition now. But do you think USA's A team would win this? Oh, sorry, B team would win this group.
Well, their B team did win the tournament in 2021, so I guess we have to give them that. I think in this group, yes, I would still think the USA could win it. The big problem for the USA is not kind of raw capability. It's the kind of alarming regularity. They're being hit with upsets and shock defeats. Some of those on the road, like to Trinidad and Tobago, but some of those at home. They have the advantage of basically playing all internationals other than World Cups, and even that now, at home, and, losing to Panama, to Canada, to other teams at home. They're certainly prone to it. And even in the World Cup qualification for 2020, for the 2022 World Cup, there were lots of, poor results against teams they should be beating. So it's no longer a given that the USA rolls over teams. I think they should win this group, but yeah, there's been a lot of unpredictable results for the United States recently, so you kind of have to expect that a little bit here, I would say.
Yeah. Just one note on the home advantage there. I'm sure American fans would be railing to tell us now that often the crowd at the away games for those teams are often bigger and louder than the support for the American team. So geographically, they are home games. In a lot of cases, though, they almost feel more like away games, or at least neutral territory. The crowd is not kind of loudly on USA's side. So in fairness to that, but we go back to the Copa America in 2024, and that kind of plays into what you're saying. We expected them to get out of that group. I think they were the pot one team there, playing against Panama and then two fairly weak South American teams. Was it, or was Uruguay one of them?
Uruguay was strong, and then Bolivia.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were really disappointed to not get out of that group. And that group kind of reminds me of this group where they should get out of it. But with a B team, I'm not dead sure that they will. It could be another very disappointing campaign for USA. I'm just saying I don't think it's guaranteed that they'll advance.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly see it more than likely, but I do see stumbles along the way. Maybe kind of building on your point, do you see all four teams as possibly advancing, or is there anyone who do you feel would be likely to finish ahead of the United States if that were to happen?
Well, certainly not Trinidad and Tobago. I kind of put them firmly at the bottom of this group. They usually go out in the group stage. I feel like the Gold Cup is a little bit rich for them. They do have kind of spurts where they do well and pass the group stage, but for the most part, they're kind of struggling once they reach this level. Haiti have very talented players. They just don't always seem to put things together. And I really like Haiti. I'm always kind of a bit disappointed that whether it's luck, like we saw with them being paired with Qatar last time and with Saudi Arabia here, they're a little bit unlucky, or maybe they kind of lack confidence or self-belief or something. They have a good opportunity here, I think, but they don't always get it done. I'll just turn it over to you because I feel like I'm talking too much here.
No, I think I do agree with you with Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, they came in as a pot 3 team. I think had they met a regular pot 4 team, they might have won. In their last Gold Cup, they beat St. Kitts and Nevis in that exact situation, but were overwhelmed by both USA and Jamaica. So I feel Trinidad is kind of perhaps the largest sufferers of having Saudi Arabia as their pot 4 team. I don't see Trinidad really, getting more than a point here. I do still think the USA will probably win the group just because there are doubts about Haiti, like you mentioned, and Saudi Arabia too. You raise a really good point with them coming off 2 crucial World Cup qualifiers and then flying right here. Those qualifiers for the World Cup are going to have to take a bit of precedence. So maybe they'll be good warm-ups, but I think there's some doubts there. So the USA, I think, will have enough to advance and probably win the group. I do see it as relatively close between Saudi Arabia and Haiti. You're right, Haiti's just a bit inconsistent. So it kind of depends what Haiti team we see. But Saudi Arabia, I do put stock, even though their ELO rankings are the same, I do put stock in the higher FIFA ranking.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of disagree with you there. It's really interesting that they're both rated exactly 75th in ELO. But as you say, FIFA has Saudi Arabia a bit higher. I do think actually Saudi Arabia is a slightly better team than Haiti. It's just that I wonder, especially after those World Cup qualifiers, will Saudi Arabia be sliding into tackles with 100% commitment for this tournament, which is basically a friendly for them. Whereas Haiti may see this as a great opportunity, especially with a weakened American team, to at least advance from the group stage. I think they'll be playing a bit harder.
Yeah. We should also mention that Al Hilal, which are the top team in Saudi Arabia, will be competing in the Club World Cup, and there's a number of players that play there.
Oh, that's really interesting. I haven't done the Saudi Arabia players yet, so definitely something I'll have to keep tabs on.
Yeah. Do you think the Saudi Arabia domestic league will the higher profile that will kind of boost the national team as maybe sometimes happens?
I think Al Hilal have done well in the Asian version of the Champions League, the Asian Champions League. I have followed it at times. I don't have it in my head. I should say we call this this podcast the Soccer Files, as in soccer library, because I don't have all the information in my head, but I do have it in my files. But I do believe Al Hilal has done well, and I don't know exactly what you mean though by boosting the Saudi team.
Well, sometimes when the domestic league is strengthened, that has a knock-on effect on the national team. Players are
Oh,
playing
I
more
see.
competitive matches and stuff. So, I mean, obviously Saudi Arabia, they're hosting a World Cup 2034, I believe. So they've got a bit of work to do. Qatar put in quite meticulous preparation. They didn't really show it at the World Cup, but they won 2 Asian Cups. So that
Yes.
preparation for hosting really did have an impact on them. So Saudi Arabia, I think, will be building towards that. This is kind of far from their World Cup. So again, I'm not sure how seriously they'll take it. But
Yeah.
a good run. Getting out of the group is probably good for them. And then, seeing who they meet from there. But yeah, they will have a tough opponent in Haiti for sure.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I do think it could give them confidence if their international teammates are doing well in the Club World Cup. But again, I just kind of have the feeling that this is just a bit of summer fun for Saudi Arabia. I don't mean that insultingly, but I don't think they'll be as determined to do well in the tournament as, say, Haiti and USA's B team. Here, all in all, though, I do see potentially anything happening here other than Trinidad and Tobago winning the group, Trinidad and Tobago advancing from the group.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I tend to agree. I do think maybe I'd probably rate the USA's chances of winning the group a little bit higher than yours. But I'm going to say Saudi Arabia second and Haiti third and Trinidad and Tobago last.
All right. Well, I may have been making too much of it because the USA have a huge talent pool. But what I did notice with the 2023 Gold Cup is that, the players they brought to that cup didn't end up being kind of B team players the way I expected them to be. I thought we'd see a lot of those players kind of as substitutes for the A team and maybe getting onto the field, and a few of them did, but there are a lot of those players who just played in the Gold Cup and haven't been called up for an international tournament since. So it's very kind of up in the air for me as to who the USA is going to call. If it is kind of the leftovers from the A team, the ones who aren't injured or involved in the cup, or even the B team players who are substitutes for the main, because they always send an A team to any game that has an involvement, if you know what I mean, any game other than a friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of the friendlies they send their A team to, but they it's almost like I kind of worry that the team they send here will be almost like a different country of several players who have never played before, or perhaps the players who are in the World Cup in 2023. I think it's going to be very difficult for Pochettino to kind of develop a team out of that. So I do think USA will pass this group stage, but I don't think it'll be an easy tournament for them. And maybe we should, unless you want to speak a little bit more to that, let's talk about how far these teams can go into the tournament. Do you see any of them as semi-finalists, for example?
I think whoever wins a group has a good chance of going onto the semifinals, and that's just in CONCACAF. There are probably, the pot 1 teams are quite strong, and the pot 2 teams there's a bit of a step down. So if anyone can win the group, or if Saudi Arabia or Haiti could win the group, then they definitely have a chance at the semifinals. Out of these teams, I see the USA is the only one with a chance at getting into the final, but perhaps they go out at the quarterfinal stage too. I think a lot's up in the air for them. Pochettino's a high-profile manager. He was brought in to win things, but it hasn't gone that well for him so far, even with the Nations League. So, it's a bit up in the air.
Yeah, it's a bit up in the air, and in a way, I wouldn't call this the most difficult group, but I would call it the most dark horse of a group, because the USA, we don't really know what squad they're going to bring to the Cup. Saudi Arabia, we don't really know how they fit into CONCACAF and how they'll fare against CONCACAF teams. And even if we say like Trinidad and Tobago, all of their successes have been kind of one-off things that just kind of popped up. So if they happen to have a good tournament, it's possible, although I really doubt it. I don't know if I'm brave enough to predict here, because I think USA, Haiti, and Saudi Arabia, to me, seem quite even if we're talking about, maybe a group of American players who haven't really played together.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to pin me down beyond that. Great.
What do you say? What do you say?
You are going to pin me down to that? I'm going to say that I think someone else is going to win the group. I think with the USA's character, what I think might happen is that they do get a bit of a shock in the group stage, and that kind of binds them together a little bit. But I think they'll be a bit disorganized at first, so may struggle in the first couple of games. So I'm going to go with my heart here and say Haiti. Haiti is going to win the group, with USA saying, no, I don't even know what I'm talking about here. I really see them as all even.
Okay, we'll leave it.
I can't do it. All right. Well, maybe I should go to the graphic here for our closing. And great talking to you about this, Connor. I've enjoyed doing these media casts with you on the group. And let's finish by asking, who do you think is going to win the tournament? A great opportunity maybe for some of the lesser teams.
Yeah, it would be great to see. I think Canada and Panama have as good a chance as they've had in a long time to maybe win this tournament. They don't have the history in it. I'm going to say Mexico.
Yeah, I was going to go there myself. I don't think Mexico are losing a lot of players to the Gold Cup. To the FIFA Club World Cup or to injury, and they have come into good form with Jimenez refinding a bit of form. So I think, yes, Canada and Panama will see this as a good opportunity. Haiti may see it as a good opportunity to pass the group stage if the USA does bring a weakened team, but Mexico's always there to take advantage of these things. And, they may be kind of eyeing up this competition and saying, let's send our best. Why not? They often do. The only time Mexico has sent a B team to tournaments is when they have 2 tournaments in the same summer,
Well, let me ask you this. If it's not Mexico or the US and we get a break to that pattern, who do you like as a potential winner? Would it be Jamaica, Canada, Panama, Costa Rica, Haiti?
Yeah, I would love to say Canada, although I'm fearful that they're going to not take advantage of the opportunity and send a B team themselves. So I really don't think Panama will do that. I think they'll be smart enough to see this as a great opportunity, given the form that they're in. They reached the final of the Nations League Cup there. So if it's not Mexico or USA, I would actually pick Panama for this one, although I'd love for it to be Canada.
Yeah.
How about you?
I would say Canada. I'll go with my heart here. I know they're going to be missing players. I know that they have some high profile withdrawals and injuries, but why not? Anything can happen.
Why not? And I gotta say, I hope you're right and I'm wrong. All right, let's bring this to a close and keep your eyes and ears out for the Players podcast. We're just kind of moving on to part two for each of the teams, where we'll actually see who made the final squad, and we'll be particularly interested in the USA there, given what they're facing. But also whether Canada and other teams are going to be sending an A team to this tournament. I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
All right. Well, the tournament will be fun as always, and yeah, thanks for doing this.
Okay. See you next time. We would like to thank Future Bass for the wonderful music you hear in this podcast. The title is called Alone.